She stood right on my porch like she owned the place, arms crossed, smirking. "You need to pack up," she said. "The HOA board voted you don't own this land anymore." I stared at her, thinking maybe she'd lost her mind. "What did you just say?" She pulled out a stack of papers, all stamped and signed, with some HOA letterhead I'd never seen before. "It's already been sold. You've got 72 hours before we send people to clear you out." I took the papers, scanning them. The numbers didn't lie. They had actually filed a fraudulent sale for 1,200 acres of my ranch. My land, the one my father bought 50 years ago. My hands tightened on the edge of the papers, but I kept my voice calm. "Who signed this?" She smirked again. "Board decision. I'm just here to deliver it." What she didn't know was I'd spent 20 years in property law before I ever touched a tractor. And the signature at the bottom of that page, forged so badly, a rookie clerk could have caught it. I looked up at her, and for the first time I smiled. "All right, if that's how you want to play it." Because in my safe, just 15 feet behind me, sat the original land deed filed in federal records, untouchable, and a little clause I'd never told anyone about. The kind of clause that could make their million-dollar mansions disappear faster than mine ever could. 2 days later, I walked into the county records office with a folder so thick the clerk had to clear his desk. Inside, my original deed, every survey map since 1974, and most importantly, the easement contracts that ran straight through the HOA's pride and joy, their private lakefront strip. The clerk adjusted his glasses. "You're saying you own the access land to all these houses?" I slid the signed, notarized contracts across the desk, every inch of shoreline. And according to this clause, I tapped the page. I can lease, sell, or block access. Anytime I choose. By noon, I had a buyer. A developer with a fat checkbook and zero interest in keeping that lake private. That evening, I parked my truck at the lake entrance. The HOA board was out there with wine glasses, laughing under their patio lights, not knowing their backyards had just been sold to someone who planned to build public boat docks. And maybe a loud summer festival stage, Karen spotted me first. "You can't be here," she shouted, marching toward me. I just leaned against my truck, grinning. "Oh, I can. In fact, starting next month, so can everyone else." Her face went pale, and that's when I told her quiet enough for only her to hear. "Hope you like neighbors. It's about 5,000 of them." The next morning, I woke up to the sound of car doors slamming and angry voices outside my gate. Karen had brought the whole HOA board, papers in hand, screaming about illegal sales and violations of community agreements. I stepped out onto my porch with my coffee. "Funny thing," I said. "I recorded our last conversation. You know, the one where you admitted you sold my land without my consent?" The tallest guy on the board, some banker type, stepped forward. Red in the face. "That recording is worthless. We have lawyers." I sipped my coffee. "So do I. Except mine doesn't charge me a dime, because he's my brother." That shut him up. Then I pulled out a printed notice from my back pocket and handed it to Karen. "Since I now control the shoreline easement, I've terminated all exclusive access rights. The developer's crew will be here Monday to start construction." One of the board members actually gasped. "Can't do that. Our property value is about to tank," I cut in. Should have thought about that before forging signatures on federal documents. Karen's hand shook as she tried to snatch the paper back, but I held it firm. "Oh, and by the way," I added, lowering my voice, "I've also filed a criminal complaint. You might want to pack your bags before the sheriff knocks." For the first time since this started, she didn't have a word to say. By Monday morning, the lakefront looked nothing like the HOA brochures. Bright orange construction fences wrapped around the shore, heavy machinery idled at the edge, and a line of curious locals stood by with lawn chairs, waiting for the public access gates to open. Karen stormed down her driveway in a silk robe, screaming over the roar of an excavator. "You can't just dig up the shoreline. It's private property." Foreman didn't even look at her. "Ma'am, we have federal permits. Take it up with the owner." He pointed at me. I stood by my truck, clipboard in hand. "Good morning, neighbor." Just making sure everything's up to code. She marched up to me, jabbing a finger in my chest. This is harassment. I leaned in slightly, keeping my voice calm but sharp. Harassment is when you try to steal 1,200 acres from someone and forge their name on the sale. What's happening here? That's called justice. That's when a black SUV pulled up and 2 uniformed deputies stepped out. The HOA board froze like they'd been caught trespassing, which technically they had. The taller deputy read from a folder. We have warrants for multiple counts of fraud, forgery, and property theft against members of this HOA board. Karen's face twisted. This is a setup. I just crossed my arms. Karen, this is called payback. The deputies started cuffing board members right there on the manicured lawns, their expensive landscaping crunching under heavy boots. Neighbors came out with phones in hand, recording every second dot. Karen kept backing away, shaking her head. You can't arrest me, I'm the president of this HOA, one deputy smirked. Not anymore, you're not. He turned her around and locked the cuffs. She screamed at me over her shoulder, You'll regret this. I walked closer, lowering, my voice so only she could hear. You know what I regret? Not doing this the day you stepped foot on my porch? As they loaded the board into the SUV, one of the neighbors muttered, Guess the HOA meetings are going to be a little quieter now. Everyone laughed. I took a deep breath, looking out over the lake, the sound of the excavators and the chatter of the crowd mixed together. But underneath it was a quiet satisfaction, the kind you only get when you win and it's legal. I glanced at the foreman. Open the gates. Metal creaked as the public access fences swung wide, and within minutes, kids were splashing in the water. Boats were pulling in, and the private lake was gone for good. And for the first time in years, the land felt like it truly belonged to the people who respected it.